Welcome to Bubble Tea Time, where we spill the tea on last week's game and set the table for this week's. I'm your host, Colin Zoidberg, MD, and joining me today, we have Brian Decadonu.
What's up?
What's up, Brian? Daniel Dans,
Hello.
Stephen Kirasaki Ace.
What's up, everyone?
How are you guys doing? How are the analysts doing today?
Doing good. Excited our guest is here.
Yeah, Brian's got a new
First
haircut as
guest
well.
of season 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our first guest of season 7 decided to make it confusing. We added a second Daniel to the show. So please welcome Daniel Mooney like Luna. How you doing?
Hey yo!
Welcome to the
Woo!
show.
Thank you.
How,
I'm
how
glad
was
to be
week
here.
one?
Week one.
How was week one for you?
Uh, it felt like I was in a zoo, but it was fun.
Okay, all right. We've already gotten a question from the audience, so I'm just going to ask it right now because why not? Who's the most over or underrated team right now? Just going straight into it.
That was fast.
Wow.
I mean now? Like wait, as in like as of last week, who did we
As of
overrate and who
last
did we
week,
underrate?
one game,
We
small sample
definitely
Well,
size.
let me
might have.
start this off. I definitely underrated AR. My bad. Uh, I'll never vote against Ginny again. Okay, and now I know.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I mean, obviously from week one we overrated MBB. I think they still have issues that they haven't like fully figured out. And hopefully down the road they will. But it
Mhm.
was a little rough in the first going. Other than that, like underrated teams, I think NBS looked like super good. Um, So they
Uh,
should fly into this week with a lot of confidence, and I think a lot of voters will probably have confidence in them too.
I think the
Alright.
other underrated team would be TSC, given that we expected MBB to win that, and that definitely did not
Mm,
happen.
All right.
yeah, I don't know. I think
Uh,
we'll get there, but I think they're still rated. Yeah,
for sure.
they're rated.
Moving right along, before we go into highlights, we do have some housekeeping to go over. We have a new logo for one of our teams, the Executive Order, and it was designed by Tim Arox Frostheart. Thank you, Tim,
Thanks,
for
I
getting
Timmy.
us the
Thanks,
new
Tim.
Looking
logo.
nice.
Dude, much more intimidating, I guess.
Yeah, it is. I like it. It's nice. All right, should we get to highlights, everyone?
Let's see some
Sure.
crazy plays.
All right.
Yeah, woo!
First up, we've got the Good Boys versus Second Breakfast. Brian, take it away.
I'm doing this one. Okay, yeah, this is the pretty critical team fight. Wukong stops right here. I think either the creep hit him or he wanted to clear the creeps, but either it means like once he shows, SB knows it's time to pull the trigger. So the drag is actually stolen, but the fight continues, and the TP comes in pretty late because of the stop recall. He gets snared and then bumped, so that forces Steven to flash ult here, which gives Ezreal this space. So kind of the 1v1 in the back line. Ezreal lives, and it's kind of a fight that's pretty over after that. There's a lot that goes through here, but I think it's probably indicative of the rest of the game. There are a couple of like fights where coordination was a little bit off the rails and stuff like that. I think some of the other commentators mentioned that, hey, Hecarim stole the dragon. Maybe it's time to just like sack the jungler and run. Um, maybe there's some other options there. But I think SB, especially Chill Wang, played it really well. They timed when they saw the TP coming in. He timed the ult to make sure that the Wukong upon landing would be caught. And the right when Wukong like popped out of stealth, Dan was able to boop him away and force the flash out. So a lot of good play from SB to like control a fight and make sure that their main carry Ezreal was pretty untouched during the fight until the very end. And by that time, it was kind of over. Too many resources were invested in trying to kill him, and the damage stacked up.
Yeah, I think additionally, if you looked at Barry Allen, he was massive that game. There was another fight where it looked pretty much that he got caught in uh, Steven here with C9 Mediotes went up to try and kill him, and he survived 1v3 long enough for us to be able to collapse and actually get Baron afterwards.
It's too tanky, man. Too tanky.
I guess throwing to Steven, have you guys been able to identify like what went wrong in that game and how you guys are going to fix it in the
It
future?
was just a lot of miscommunication. On our end, we didn't realize that Ori used the ulti on the dragon
Mhm.
same time as Hecarim went in. So we thought we still had that Ori ball threat, and we were looking for a team fight still. But the other team played it really well. I thought I would be able to get around the Maokai ult with my W on Wukong, but I still got snared, and then the fight was kind of doomed because I was stuck there for a few seconds doing nothing while Olaf was destroying our backline. So yeah, they really well played from the other team.
Yeah, unlucky GG next.
Yeah. I think it
All
comes
right,
down to just communication issues on our team, but we're working on it.
for sure.
All right.
Anybody else got any thoughts on Good Boys versus Second Breakfast? All right, moving right along. The next game we're going over is the Student Council versus Milwaukee Bucks, baby. This was a back and forth here. Took 40 plus minutes to finish.
Yeah.
With eventually with the Student Council coming out ahead, unfortunately.
Hey.
Steven,
All right.
want to take it away?
Yeah, let's see the clip. All right, so MBB wins a pretty big team fight here, and they're pushing to end the game. And here comes Mooney with the huge play, 3-man knockup. So Mooney, when you made this play, and the game is about to be over for you, unless if either you or Vagar or both of you together make a huge play here, right? What was going on in your mind as this happened?
I see play I make. I was like, hey, I want a big E.
So you got a big E.
Yeah, I
Well,
think your mic is cutting in and out, Mooney. Just
Oh
heads
no.
up. Yeah, so you got a big E, which definitely helped fend off the final push that MBB were trying to make.
how are
What
you?
was going on in that game for you? Because that was a really long back and forth game.
I mean, I think what I was going for 8, then other. So we just sort of went on every chance that we saw, which didn't always work out for us. Why?
Yeah, I think you're cutting out a bit.
Yeah, it's really hard. You may want to unplug and replug in that microphone. But we'll anybody else got any thoughts on MBB versus TSC as we get Mooney's mic fixed?
It should be fixed now. I had the wrong
nice.
input in. Sorry
There
about
it
that.
is.
It sounds
I was
better.
just
All
trying
right.
to so I was trying to say that we were just basically going in on every opportunity that we saw. And I'm pretty sure I was called insane multiple times by because I just kept going in on these random initiates. But it worked out half the time and it didn't the other half. And that's why that game was pretty back and forth.
I mean, Rel quote, I just want to fight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun game to watch. Lots of crazy plays happening.
Yep. Some big throws on both
You
teams.
know,
Some
for
good
me,
capitalizations.
when a game is going so back and forth, and then someone on my team makes a huge play like you did, all the confidence and the energy is there after like making such a crazy play. Do you think that play had any impact throughout your team, like from that point on in the game?
I think so. I think we were able to gain back the momentum from that. That was basically the point when we all realized, hey, Vigar is super freaking fed. He can pretty much carry the whole game at this point. So then we just sort of played around that after that
Okay.
point.
Cool.
You weren't wrong. He was very, very fed.
Yeah, that game was definitely a
Anybody
game of
else?
inches. Yeah, it was a game of inches. Like there are so many like small things and stuff like that the entire game. I mean, I've already harped enough about item builds during the actual clip, so won't go into that. But like I think things like that could have swung the game in either direction. So I think for both teams, it was really clawing every little advantage they could. And in the end, TSC like got the better of MBB. Um, Yeah, I mean there's so many things, like it's really hard to like break down that game because so many things happened. Like obviously top lane exploded really early, in TSC's favor. Somehow Mayo was able to come back to relevancy, but it took a while. Um, there was a Baron play that was kind of like tossed away by MBB that didn't could have snowballed the game, but ended up dragging it a little bit longer. Um, this play right here was really interesting. Like there was a world where three of those players that lived after the rel engage actually just like run away, and they still keep Baron. They reset. There's a lot of things that happen in this game, in both teams' favor that like dragged it out to be 50 minutes long or something like that in the end. So yeah, I don't know. It was a good one to watch at least. Probably a fan favorite for sure from the first week.
Yeah, it was a banger to play in, that's for sure. We definitely had hype moments on our team as well, where we were popping off in comms. I'm sure student council also had those moments as well. It was a lot of fun to play in.
Yeah, it was very hectic.
Yeah,
I tried to
hectic
say
is a
this.
really good word for it.
I tried to say this earlier, but I had no idea I was muted on top of having the wrong input. But I felt like I was in a zoo.
Hmm.
I was inside the cage and both outside the cage, but fun.
But the cage was on your team.
Hey, but you also made the plays when it mattered, so
Yeah. All right. Should we move on to our next game?
let's do it.
We've got Executive Order versus Panic in Our Oceans with a Panic in Our Oceans victory. Steven, you want to talk about the clip we're going to watch?
All right. So far at this point of the game, it's relatively close. I think Udyr and Sound were looking for an engage here. Yep. And then Javier flashes in an old Corky, which could have been a good play, but the team wasn't really there to follow up with it. Afterwards, here's Mega or Mininar just getting bullied because he's not Mega yet. But check out this play. This is a crucial point in this fight. Look at the knock up here. It saves Mina's life with like 1 HP. And very good positioning from Mina there as well to avoid any boomerangs or, keeping that auto spacing. Really nice play. Well done.
This wouldn't have been close if I didn't click on my mini map. I was trying to jump over the wall and shoot them from over the wall, but when I flicked my mouse to the bottom side of my screen, I flicked over the mini map and jumped right into them instead. So if I jumped over the wall, I wouldn't die. I can just drop stuff on top of them from over the wall.
Unlucky.
But your team picked you up, man. They
Yeah.
had your back.
I'll take it.
Javier wanted to
As-
guarantee that you died.
That's probably true. Anybody got any thoughts on how they were able to come out ahead on this one, besides Brian over here?
Chase had some really, really good picks. He kept looking for spots where EXO had no vision and just lurked in there and waited for somebody to walk up to drop a ward and got really nice picks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, Brian, you got any final words on your game?
No, I mean, it's a clean game. Like I CS like a madman, and while I was doing that, my team was killing things. Like pretty happy about that. So
There you go.
Brian's
all you
worst
need.
enemy, clicking on the mini map.
yeah, that's actually the only time I died that game was clicking on the mini map.
If it's
All
not a
right, so
minion or a
you heard
champion.
it here first. When you're
Yeah.
playing against Brian, make sure he's got his mini map maximized so that he can just relax and click on it for you guys. All right, so then, let's move on to our next match, which is Acid Rabbits versus True Hearts Destiny with an Acid Rabbits victory. Dan's, take it away.
Well, this was a snowball straight out of from bot lane, courtesy of Tactical Gazelle on the Xerath. And here the whole team is trying to collapse on the Ezreal, and he just manages to live, and Tactical Gazelle gets a triple kill thanks to Man Puppet coming in to back him up after the overextension and the missed flash from Man Butts. And
Yeah,
from
I mean this is
here,
just
yeah, like the bot lane was just artillery.
Baron wants blood.
Yeah.
At what cost?
yeah. I mean that's one way to snowball a game real fast is to give 3 kills over.
To support Xerath at 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Good luck laning now.
He came
Yeah.
back with not only a blue buff but also a lost chapter to the lane. So he was just raining pain
Yeah.
towards bot lane.
I don't think there's a lot you can do after that, except for pray he misses a lot of his skill shots for a bit there. Yeah, anybody? I mean, later on in the game, it was pretty much more of the same. It was just a straight snowball. Anybody have any other thoughts?
Nope.
All right, moving on to our last game highlight, which is Deep Dive versus Nutter Butter Scudlers with a Nutter Butter Scudlers victory.
No.
Nice.
Not. Uh, Brian, you want to talk about the highlight we're gonna see?
Yeah, sure. Why not? This is a pretty funny one. This wait, this isn't the right highlight. I changed it in the format doc.
No.
Not like
Well, okay,
No.
whatever.
Not
Then this
like
is less funny,
this.
but it's the Baron fight that pretty much ends the game. The Bartle, stalls a little bit, but it's not enough. The hook on the ulting Jin, who Gale forces into the cage. And it's pretty over. There's, pretty cut and dry. I wish we had the other clip. It's in the format doc. What happened? No.
No. But this is pretty
No.
much the end of the game.
Did I
Yeah,
not
this was
replace it correctly?
this is our first game of the entire season, and it didn't disappoint. It was a pretty good game. A lot of kills. It was entertaining at the very least. Dan's, what do you think about the game?
We got the best meme out of it so far with
Mm-hmm.
Blazion's clip of the play that Brian wanted to show of a
Mhm.
blast cone throwing him into the enemy team.
I just want to point out during that match, Wired and Matthew Bobo XDXD were just roaming around. They were everywhere. Okay, I
Mhm.
think they were in. I think they ganked lanes more than the other two junglers, and that was really crazy to watch. I'm kind of scared to play against them. Please don't come top. Yeah.
All right. So now that we've looked at at all the game highlights, is there a team that like really stands out to you now that you're like, oh, that team played really well this year or that first game?
I mean, we talked about this earlier, how we had to adjust our power rankings, but I think NBS is definitely up there compared to where
Mhm.
they were.
Mhm.
I'm very scared of that team. Um,
Mhm.
we've already talked about most of these, but I ranked MBB as my #1 team. That one's probably going down a bit. Sorry, MBB.
I'll never forgive you. It's fine.
But there's still a lot of potential for you. I think you're still in like, top half. So
Mhm. Mhm. Anybody else feel like you guys saw something that was like, oh, that team's good.
We saw cracks in THD after we all placed them first.
Mhm.
I think the team's still solid. I think that a snowball is something that's very hard for them to control. And
Mhm.
I think if they work on patching that up and stabilizing, they'll still be top half of the league.
All right.
Hey,
Moving.
Steven didn't put THD first. He put MBB first.
True.
That's
True.
true.
hmm.
And we'll
Hmm.
reward that faith. Don't worry. All right, moving along to my favorite segment of the show because it's one where I don't have to talk a lot. It's Dan's stats.
First dance
Stats.
stats.
Woo.
All right. So for this week, we want to hype up the supports that are going into head to head right after bubble tea time tonight. Matthew Bobo XDXD and Tactical Gazelle. Um, and the keynote of is these guys want to make plays. And Matthew specifically likes to roam around the map. Tactical Gazelle likes to lane diff and snowball bot lane as hard as he can. And these guys, as you can see, are pretty close to match outside of the KDA, where you know Tactical Gazelle got pretty much
Not
fed
even
out of the
20.
mine.
Unbelievable.
Hey, he didn't die, right?
18 KDA. That's it's a pretty strong stat line to open up, and the damage per minute is honestly also insane. Like
Can we?
616 damage
Yeah.
per minute of support is ridiculous.
Are we not mentioning the Ezreal support that guided Tactical
Ah,
Gazelle to the
yes,
spot though?
yes. Shout out to Jack Limestone.
Yeah, when
Selfish
we were all
support didn't even build Moonstone.
when we were all saying Jack Limestone is the carry of this team, my bad, Tactical Gazelle. I'll never count you out again. You're the real carry here. Look at this 86% KP. It's crazy.
Whew. Yeah, 86% KP. I
Hey.
mean, and no slouch to Matt either. It's that 82% KP is also nothing to slouch
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
But really, I
Right.
mean, 616 damage per minute out of the support slot is
Mhm.
probably going to win you most games. Probably.
Don't worry about the vision per minute score, because when the entire enemy team is respawning in Fountain, you generally know where they are.
Yeah, you don't need
Don't
you
need a
don't
ward.
need you don't
No,
need
sir.
wards. You just know where they are. You're fountain diving at that point. All right. That's it for dance stats, yeah? So we're moving right along to our predictions for the week. Pull those up there. There we go. So we started off with SB versus EXO. Pretty clear vision on who we think is going to win that game, huh? Steven,
no
what do you
pressure.
what you think?
You know, for me, the main difference as to why I chose SB here over EXO is that SB looks very cohesive. And EXO, if you know, especially if you watch the last highlight, it looked like they weren't on the same page. So I'm worried that SB will just make plays together and EXO will try and make plays individually, and therefore SB will win just out of pure team fighting capability. At the same time, EXO has a lot of tools to snowball and win the game, so I'm not counting them out. But I do see this as an SB favored matchup for sure.
All right.
Mhm.
Anybody
I just think
anybody got any thoughts to defend our brethren over at Second Breakfast?
second breakfast or
Bit-
Not
EXO.
You
Second
mean
Breakfast.
EXO.
EXO, sorry.
Second breakfast
Yeah.
says, "Yo, Betty White, you never know what he's gonna pull out on you." I know this from
Oh,
Yeah.
experience.
when he picked
I mean,
Vlad
that's
against our team's brains just exploded. It was over.
yeah.
I've never seen him play Vlad once in my life.
Yeah, he just got a lot of the
Yeah.
secret picks.
Mhm.
I think, I mean, you asked somebody to defend EXO, but I voted for
Yeah.
SB as well. And I can't really defend EXO against SB right now. I think EXO, their biggest issue isn't necessarily like, I mean, they were a little out of sync and stuff like that, but every team is, right? I think their biggest issue is like their champ pools are kind of busted compared to SB. Literally none of the voters voted for EXO, and I think it's because EXO has a lot of difficulty in like what they can play and stuff like that. Like support has a really limited champ pool, hasn't proven she can play tanks. Javier's champ pool is expansive but really strange, and like I think he might need to settle it down and like start carving out like a specific style for himself that the team can play with and play around. Um, I think with those kind of champion pools, it really limits like the strategies that they could really pull off and the strategies they can index into when they draft. So
Mhm.
until they expand those pools, I can't imagine I'd vote EXO over many teams at all.
All right.
Not yet in the pool.
All right, let's pull up those predictions because there's one thing I didn't go over. It's our score lines from last week. Not great, guys. We didn't do that well.
Oh yeah, we were pretty bad.
Yeah.
We were
Hey,
pretty
we're
bad.
letting
We
our boy
it's
Adam, have a good
He's
start because
carrying
by
us.
the end of it,
I do think it's very interesting that somehow we're all 1-4 when we only voted on 4 games.
It's 1 out of 4.
Oh, one
One out
out
of
of
four. Yeah,
four.
one out
That
of four.
okay. That makes a little bit more sense. So not great on our part. So we'll have to do better. But we're gonna step it up this week. All right, moving on to MBB versus GB. We only have one outlier here. Everybody thinks the good boys are going to win, except for Dan's. Dan's, why will my team win?
Elena's gonna be hungry for vengeance.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Elena sitting
oh
over there in the
no,
back in the pink shirt.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't it who put MBB at the very bottom earlier? I think it was Matt. Yeah, Matt
yeah, it
put
was Matt.
MBB at the very bottom of his tier list. If there's one way to
Mm-hmm.
piss off Elena, it's to front her team like that. I don't know. I'm not sure
Mhm.
she'll let that slide. In my opinion, this was the closest matchup of the week. I didn't really know which side to take. I mean, obviously, I'm biased towards Elena and my boy Adam in the jungle, but even so, um, I'm not. What? I'm not sure.
Fine.
Oh yeah, and the Colin
It's
that guy
fine.
too.
No, it's cool. You can't even
Hey,
say
bro.
it's
Hey, bro.
fine.
You don't want
Yeah,
him
I
to
guess that guy
mention you,
too.
okay? You build GA on Oriana, all right?
Yeah. Hey, don't forget the QSS, the boot cell for QSS.
Listen, one
Uh,
build, one bad build does not make.
There you go. But yeah, I do think a lot of those issues that MBB had are really fixable, like the items. But I think you know there's still some stuff they'll have to prove. I think TSC, and I mentioned this before when Dan said I think TSC was underrated. I actually don't think they're underrated. I think TSC is still like um a pretty struggling team. Like I think they struggled that game, like TSC. And I think they honestly should have lost in a ton of scenarios. Fix one item build on Oriana or on Zaya, and MVP wins. TSC loses, I think. I think they didn't look super hot either, and MBB still struggled. And I think a lot of there were some really positive things that you could take away from that game. I think Colin and PowerCore both played pretty well. Like we mentioned in Power Rankings that was kind of a question mark. Like if they could get through the early game, which they did actually, they shined in the early game. Colin especially, um, could they pull it out in the late game, and they couldn't. And I think that's a question that's really hard to resolve within 1 week. It's going to take a couple before MBB gets to like full strength level of like understanding how to macro themselves out in the mid and late game. And until then, I struggle to pick them against teams that are like potentially explosive, like GB can be. So
Well,
yeah.
I disagree.
You make
Uh,
bold.
no, I mostly agree, but I think we had a really good session afterwards talking
Mhm.
about it, and I think we're actually in a pretty good spot. And considering how well the early game went, maybe we just don't have to get to late game ever again, and
That's the
we'll
hope.
be fine. That's the dream, right?
Mhm.
So, let's move on to our next predictions, which is going to be Executive Order versus Panic in Our Oceans. And for this game, is that right?
No, that's not right.
Nope, sorry. MBS versus AR. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. MBS versus AR, which is a split decision. We have 4 for AR, 3 for MBS. Brian, why MBS?
MBS was pretty sick last game. I don't know. I'm not sure what to say. Like, everybody was on point. And we expected Matthew box XD or whatever Matthew to be on point. Or at least thought he would probably be on point. And we expected a good play out of Mayan, but it says volumes that I think Mayan had a decent game, but I think he was the worst player on his team that first game, which is crazy because I think he still played pretty well. The rest of his team played pretty nutty levels of good. Like Matthew was all over the map. Emperix played his first game in like I don't know a year and a half and played like super well. Didn't even die. Set an 0-5-9 set, absorbed so much pressure and did the most damage in the game at 0-5-9. Um, and then I think like they put Panic Puma on utility ADCs as we thought they would. But he looked pretty good in that role. Hit a
You
bunch
mean
of
Fire
arrows
Knight?
like Fire Knight. Sorry, yeah. Okay, well he hit him on Panting Puma, so good enough, I guess. But like in the bot lane when Panting Puma was isolated by himself, like he just dunked him. Like I think that team, there's not going to be very many games where Mayan is that team's worst player.
Mhm.
And when he's not, and everybody else is still ticking, like that team is really scary. That team's like I think if we're talking, I said it actually last week that I thought they're the most underrated team.
Mhm.
But like no, for real, like that is like a top, top 2, top 1 kind of team. If everything's ticking. So
Yep.
I don't know. AR is good. Um, they beat THD in a pretty convincing fashion. Ginny can steady the ship against anybody. But I don't know if they're as clean as NBS, and I don't know if they're as explosive. NBS looked a lot more explosive.
All right. Daniel Mooney.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Acid Rabbits gonna win?
Acid rabbits. I mean, I've been on the same team as Man Puppet before, and let me tell you, when he loses once, the next game he starts talking mad trash and hypes his
Mhm.
team up. So I think they're gonna have that lost first game, win second game buff going on for them.
But they
Honestly,
won the first game.
Yeah,
They won the
exactly.
first game, man.
yeah, they
This is the
did.
this is the battle of the one and O's.
Are you gonna
So what
flip
you're
Yes,
it on
saying
him?
is
They
they're
need to
gonna
lose
lose
this
this
one to
game.
win
they
the.
lost the
Yeah.
mental game, but they won the real game, and now they're gonna win the real game and the mental game. I know I made absolutely no sense, but that is okay.
All right. Let's move on to our next game, which is going to be THD versus Acid Rabbits. People have THD as the is it THD
No,
versus
it's
Acid? No,
deep dive.
Deep
I
dive.
am
Deep
doing great
dive.
today. Sorry. THG versus Deep Dive. Most people have Deep Dive going on. We do have two True Heart Destiny believers. One of them currently on the screen. So Daniel, why is True Heart Destiny going to take it home?
True Heart Destiny. Well, first of all, it's a K-pop name, so that already,
I
you know,
respect
get
that.
that. Yeah.
I respect. Yeah.
But I've also, like not in the main channels, but through the shit talking channels and other places, I've heard some things about LimCH96 and
Mhm.
Bear Rock, so I'm just a little scared. I think they've got some secrets going on there. They're gonna, yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
may not
Alright.
have been from some games I played with them in customs, but pretty
Mm.
scary.
A little part of Dan and I certainly smiled when people, selected THD. So I
Yeah.
can give you that. But this week, I don't know. I think the biggest thing is I saw THD's draft and it blew some sort of connection in my mind. Like there's a gasket in my mind that was like, what just happened here? Um, and like I hope they can fix it. But like Deep Dive Draft also kind of like was kind of weird and confusing and didn't play well in the NBS at all. Like they had Jin as essentially a main carry, or I guess like a make take muster into Sejuani like set combo. That isn't gonna work. So like I don't know. Both teams had pretty questionable drafts, but I think I trust Deep Dive to fix their draft more quickly than I trust THD. That said, I think both these are still top tier teams. Like THD had a really messed up draft, but once they fix it, they have too much talent to not be a top tier team. So I think this could also be a close game, and I wouldn't be surprised if THD had a good draft that like maximized their strengths, didn't just randomly put Kindred and then not build around Kindred and just put pieces randomly on the board like a dartboard. Like if they don't do that, THD looks really good. I think I trust Deep Dive to fix their issues faster, and I rank them 1 and 2 respectively at the start of the season. So like I already kind of viewed them relatively close anyway.
All right. And our last game of the week to predict is going to be Panic in Our Oceans versus the Student Council, with 3 people voting for the Student Council, 2 people voting for Panic in Our Oceans. Dan's, why is Panic in Our Oceans going to win?
I mean, Brian's got some plans. I'm pretty sure his team's been practicing pretty much every day
Mm-hmm.
since their
Pretty
first game,
often.
and yeah, I think they're going to be in much better form, and so they're just going to go from strength to strength.
Oh, not from yesterday, but
Mm-hmm.
I also voted for Panic in Our Oceans. There's the Brian Diff aspect of it, but after watching Rito Burrito, Walker in the top lane, the more I watch him, the more impressed I am at his skill level. Makes a lot of smart decisions. There's only like a small little things he needs to tweak here and there, but for the most part, he consistently does pretty well, and he has a pretty big champ pool. So I expect a lot out of that team.
All right.
yeah, I can't believe we're underdogs here. To be totally
Yeah, I
honest
mean,
with you.
yeah,
Wow.
I voted
Sorry,
for
Dan.
I voted for the student council purely because I believe that the Milwaukee Bucks baby are the second best team in the league, and we lost to the best team in the league.
I agree with that. I
And
agree
so
completely.
I have to vote for the best team in the league, with
There you
us
go.
obviously being number 2. No, I think the student council played really well. They got advantages early, and then they did blow those advantages, but then they were able to stick around and fight back from a pretty hard deficit. And I think that shows a lot of resilience early on in the season. And I don't think it's going to be as easy of a first game for Panic in Our Oceans than as they think that it's going to be. It's going to be a hard fought battle.
Yeah, I don't think we'll run you over, Daniel, but it might still be construed as roadkill in the end. So
Oh, don't worry. Detention will be held on Monday, and we look forward to seeing you and your team there.
All right, with that, let's take a look at our standings really quickly. pull up standings if we can. There they are. As you can see, we have a 5-way tie for first place and a 5-way tie for sixth. Shocking after week 1, I know every team has 1 win or every team has 1 loss. But hopefully we'll get a little bit of separation after this week. I know we have 2 matchups between we have 2 matchups between 2 teams that have 1-0 records and 2 matchups between teams that have 0-1 records. So we might have a lot of 1-1s, which will be really fun and interesting to look at. So we do have some questions from our audience. We've got 2. The first question is, which team is going to be the first team to pick Gwen? For those that didn't see, Gwen is the new champion that got announced today, or not announced today, I guess announced yesterday. They released a video of her abilities today, but did not actually go over what the abilities are, which probably is coming soon.
Yeah, I mean, we already know the answer. It's Javier and Sexo. Like,
I
it's a
mean,
new champion. Like, he's gonna be like, oh man, I'm gonna play a mid. No, I'm gonna play a jungle. I'm gonna play wherever the fuck I want. It's Javier. Next.
if
that would
not,
yeah,
it's
that
gonna
would
be
have been my
Tim.
answer too.
I mean, depending on how OP that champion is, it's probably gonna be the first team that plays and the first mit's on blue side, right? I don't know.
Mm.
Depending on how strong the champ is, but usually when Riot releases a champion, they're pretty busted. So
I've got a sleeper pick for you. Since I think Gwen is a top laner, I'm gonna go with Darren. I think Limich is gonna pull it out.
Ooh.
That's my sleeper pick. Second and final question of the night is from Powa. The answer may be obvious, but who's the player of the week?
Play of the week.
Yeah. That was the question. The answer may be obvious, but who's the player of the week?
I don't think the answer is very obvious.
Is it?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess support's a busted role. Probably one of the people in
Support
dance
is-
stats, to be honest.
Support is
Yeah,
a busted
pick
role.
one of the people in dance stats. Like Matthew is all over the map. Controlled the game pretty heavily. But then again, Tactical Gazelle had an 18 KDA and killed everything. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe Tactical Gazelle. I
He
don't
said,
know. Yeah, one of them. I don't
"Team,
know.
I'll carry you this one."
Yeah.
If I recall, Ginny after the game was saying, "Have you ever had a game where you didn't have to do anything and won?"
I mean, that's a skill set, right? Getting allowing
dream.
yourself to be carried, right?
Being light is a skill set.
Yeah, that's definitely it. All right, let's look at the schedule for the upcoming week. Tonight we have NBS versus AR at 8 p.m. Monday we've got a doubleheader at 6:30 p.m. We've got Panic in Our Oceans versus the Student Council, and then at 8 p.m. we have Second Breakfast versus Executive Order. On Wednesday at 8 we have Milwaukee Bucks Baby versus the Good Boys, and wrapping up our week on Thursday we have True Heart Destiny versus Dive.
What's y'all's
yeah.
What's y'all's highlight game of this list? What's the game of the week here? It's gotta be one of the 1-0s versus 1-0s, right? Like, probably.
It's probably what's coming right up on.
Yeah,
after
NBS
this.
versus AR is going to be really good.
Think so
Yeah.
too.
A little bit selfishly, but I actually think Milwaukee Bucks Baby and Good Boys is a really interesting match because both teams started 0-1. Both teams were rated pretty highly in power rankings. So
I mean, if you're gonna put it that way, you gotta
that's-
give it to
that's
THD
interesting.
Deep Dive.
Yeah, that's fair.
If that's the rationale, it's gotta be THD Deep Dive, right? I don't know.
Yeah, that's also fair. It's just I think that's interesting as well, right? We've got
Yeah,
interesting
makes
matchups
sense.
of 1-0s versus 0-1s. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be a fun
My
one.
real takeaway is nobody cares about Dan Z.
No.
Well,
And I think that's fair. So,
Yeah, I
moving on.
also think that's fair. That's our schedule. So that's it for the show. Anybody got anything to wrap us up, or ready to watch some NBS versus AR?
I'm
Yeah,
ready to
alright.
watch, but Colin, get ready for next week, man.
Oh, yeah.
Get ready.
I hear you're
Okay.
swapping to mid.
I mean, just don't buy
Is
GA
that-
on Oriana anymore,
That's
please.
just a rumor. That's the rumor I've heard is that you're swapping to mid for that game.
Wait a second. If I play Zed mid and you play Oriana, GA might be big brain. You know? How could I ever kill you, bro?
So play.
You can't ult
If
twice.
you have
buddy.
GA and you have Zanya's, I just can't win, right?
Can't ult twice,
Yeah.
man.
You replace that QSS with a Thornmail and you're set, dude.
And I'm golden.
Oh
There
no.
you go. All right, that is it for Bubble Tea Time. Stay tuned to our Twitch to watch the battle for our first 2-0 team, Nutter Butter Scudlers and Ask Rabbits take to the Rift at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Thank you guys for watching and have a good night.
Peace out.